Right, welcome guys. This is an article / interview with Noah Hawley all about Alien Earth. Now, this, I think, fundamentally reveals that Noah Hawley actually doesn't understand the show he's created, and, perhaps most egregiously, doesn't actually understand Alien, which, some people would argue is fairly evident by watching the show, but I think this is worthwhile going through. They also come out and state that Season 2 hasn't been renewed just yet, but it's on the cards and he's ready to go whenever. So, yeah, let's take a look. Hit subscribe if you're new here. Do turn those bell notifications on. If you want to watch my review of the finale, I'll leave it linked above. I will be doing like an overall discussion piece, I think, on Alien Earth. I got to wait a few days and just sort of think about it. I might watch it all back to back as well and then come up with some more thoughts, but you want to watch my episodic reviews, they're all up on the channel. So this was a variety piece, right? And it just goes backwards and forwards. There's a conversation with Noah Hawley, and there's some key bits in this which I thought, like I said, really are indicative of Noah Hawley just fundamentally misunderstanding the product that he's actually made himself, which I think is quite funny, to be honest. So, as they say here, in the season's final moments, it's clear that Wendy has come into her own. I was really struck by the way that Joe looked at her fearfully during this sequence, and I wondered if that was a sign that she's embracing her hybrid side more and moving away from her humanity. Well, one, did you watch the show? Obviously that's what happened. Variety, who are you employing? Obviously that was what was happening. You idiot, you raging moron. But anyway, Noah's response I thought was quite telling. That's the central question of the series, right? Is Wendy going to choose human or other? There's a push-pull between her brother, who represents on some level, the best of humanity, and the Kirsch or Boy Cavalier sense of why settle for human when there's so much potential there. So her brother is realising that whatever big brother pull he had is really gone at this point. The problem with letting children have all that power is that their executive function isn't great, and their sense of consequences isn't necessarily fully developed. There's a hubris there, and as she says, maybe this xenomorph could be good, right? Those of us who know xenomorphs are like, well, maybe it can be controlled for a period of time. So it's worrisome, because she has all this power, but she doesn't yet have the perspective he thinks she needs. I can kind of agree with that, that's fine, it's not really a massive deal, but sure, fine, whatever. But obviously, Variety's asking this question. Did you watch the show? Like, obviously, it was her embracing her hybrid side more. I mean, the final episode is called The Real Monsters, for God's sake. Like, how more on the nose could you get? What did allowing Wendy to communicate with and to control the xenomorphs open up for you in the writing process? Now, just check this response. It obviously gives a very powerful sidekick. Yeah, you made the alien a sidekick, you tit. What are you doing? As we see in the last couple of episodes, but also the moment she releases this creature, it kills a bunch of people. And she doesn't watch. She isn't facing the consequences of that decision. Well, she is, actually. She watched the xenomorph kill a whole bunch of people in the jungle. Did you not? Have you watched this thing that you wrote? But there's a real moral conundrum that she's going to face if part of her power is in causing the injury or death of human beings. Then where's her moral high ground? She doesn't have one. Hence why it's called The Real Monsters. Have you watched the thing that you even made, Noah? For me, violence, which is so inevitable on Fargo and on Alien, I never want violence to be entertainment. I always want it to be impactful and meaningful. How? What was impactful and meaningful about the alien just tearing through people non-stop? What? Like, it lost all sense of horror? And to confront the audience with their desire for it, people didn't actually have a massive desire for all the bloodshed that you had with the xenomorph. Again, you don't understand it, it seems. And those moments where we're trained as an audience to feel like violence is the only way to resolve a conflict. Let's look at that a little more closely and see how we feel about it. So that brings me to the fight between Morrow and Kirsch, which is both exciting in the sense that we're finally seeing what it looks like when a cyborg and a synthetic fight, but also thematically rich. It's altered man versus machine. So Noah responds with this. The moment I wrote the elevator scene, I knew that you've got to pay it off on some level. You don't want to make people wait for the second season. Well, thank God. You made us wait for a lot of stuff, for God's sake. The hubris of Morrow's statement, man will always win, It's a question of will. Then 25 seconds later, he's choked out by the machine. It's like, don't count the villain out, right? Freddy Krueger never dies. Sure, that's fine. That battle on some level is a fight between heroes and villains, right? And I'd love to take a poll of the audience and say, who do you think, or who do you want to win this fight? Because I don't know for sure. It's like when you see Captain America fight Iron Man and you're like, I don't know what I'm rooting for. Neither of them can die. You don't want that to happen, but who's right? It becomes a question of whether you believe in authority or whether you believe in rebellion. Well, which one was which? Because Prodigy Corporation, this is what I mean, I don't think he understands what he made. Prodigy Corporation was rebelling against the systems in place, as was Weyland-Yutani. Morrow wasn't really rebelling against anyone. Was Kirsch? I don't know, he didn't really do that much. All of the show's authority figures, Morrow, Kirsch, Boyd Cavalier, Dame Sylvia, end the season caged with the Xenomorph looming above them, looking potentially ready to pounce. Will any of them be taken off the board in a potential season 2? If they're staying, how will this shape their journeys? I think what we've seen throughout history is don't count the villains out, right? The worst thing you could do is humiliate them or hand them a defeat because it makes them more dangerous in the long run. There's always a moment in which somebody humiliates the villain and now all the love in him is gone. Did Kirsch's perspective on Prodigy Project shift over the season? Or were we just gradually given more insight into how he had always felt about it? There's a moment when Kirsch says to Hermit's character, Hermit's asking, how do I take care of my sister? And Kirsch says, that's like an onion asking, how do I take care of a star? That's his perspective on what human beings are, right? And so if you think that he was created by humans and works for humans, and in many ways is programmed with some prime directives not to harm humans or cause them to be harmed. I mean, he did, but okay. And yet deep down inside, he knows he's superior to all of them. That's kind of a recipe for a personality disorder. Think of all the people you know who are like, I'm smarter than everybody else. You're like, you do not have a happy life ahead of you. So I don't think it's as much of an evolution of his, but more of a sense that he was put in charge of these creatures and has been conducting these experiments. You begin to realise that maybe the experiments also involve the hybrids and the humans, and that there's a larger permission that was given. Well, that did not come through in the season, but alright. Talks about the bloody eye alien here. Can we talk about my favourite little guy? The alien eyeball entering Arthur's body seemed to open up new avenues for a potential season 2. When we met the creature, it was inside this obviously dead cat, so I think we know that it can reanimate a body. For me, there's something more symbolic about it. If Arthur is the moral centre of the show, and perhaps the best of humanity, who died because of the worst qualities of humanity, and now isn't even allowed to rest in peace, there's a certain sort of final corruption that happens, in a Pet Sematary way. To take the thing that you love and to bring it back as other can be really the most disconcerting for an audience. Sure, whatever. Anyway, then we have this, talking about this. This is pure nonsense, unadulterated nonsense. Understanding that the timeline of the show totally excludes Prometheus and Alien Covenant, I'm struck by the fact that its events take place shortly before the events of the original Alien. In a potential season 2, do you think you'll get closer to that timeline and integrate it? Now listen to his answer. I think there are bridges that you cross right when you come to them. A big part of the world building and the act of creation on these first 8 episodes was to build something that was coherent to itself, that worked within the construct of the movies, the first 2 movies. In success, in a season 2 and beyond, then we really need to dig down and start to think about how these 2 stories are going to cohere together in the long term. And that doesn't mean that I don't have thoughts about it or haven't had thoughts about it, but in terms of planning, part of why I'm successful in this business is that I know which problems I need to solve today and which problems I need to solve tomorrow. And I don't worry about tomorrow's problems until tomorrow. Right. Okay. So not worrying about that yet. Well done. Are you working on writing a season 2 right now? No. It's conversational at this point. Sure. Fine. There's a bit of an irreverent note to end on, but I'm just curious. Every episode of Alien Earth has ended with a blast of 90s metal. I lived for it. But what is going on with that music choice week after week? I've got a lot of quippy ways to talk about it. Classic movie, classic rock. But at the end of the day, We made an arena show. We didn't make the Paramount Theatre show. We made the Sheer Stadium show. And I wanted to end with that level of emotion. Amazing. Cool. Yeah, nah. I don't think he understands his own show, to be fair. I don't think he understands it. This just tells me he doesn't understand it. So there you go, whatever. What do you think? Let me know down below. Bye-bye now.